If you don't have a rig, you can make one, but I would highly suggest that you make a rig first and then come back to this video, since I'm not going to be covering that. So assuming you already have a rig already, we're going to import that. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using one of these creatures. I'll be using the bay, as this shows the most out of the tutorial, but if you want to skip the other parts to skip how other creatures are animated, I have other segments of the video that are available there. So to export for Blender, you're going to need this plugin. The doc in the description will show you how to download this plugin and use it, but once you have the plugin installed, you click the bay or any creature that you want to export the rig for, and make sure this has no warnings over here. So if you have like, not with underscores, just no underscores, just the creature with no spaces or underscores, and it should give you no warnings. So there's other warnings as well you have to watch for. You just have to read what the warnings say here and fix it, but like other than the name warning, it's pretty fixable and you'll know what's wrong. Anyway, we're going to go in here and we're going to do you can name this whatever you want, like let's just say debate test. The name doesn't matter for this one, so you can name it, you can have spaces in it. Just make sure it exports. It's going to take up a little bit to export. And what you're going to do now is you're going to go to Blender, and I'll be right back with opening Blender and stuff. Alright, since now that we're in Blender, you just have to import the file that you exported. So if you also need another plugin that you need to install in Blender, which is basically the second part of the Blender export plugin, the doc also shows you how to set that up too. So if you have that set up right now, we could continue with the video. And what you want to do is you're gonna have to find the rig that you're using. So since we named it debate test, we are going to open this one, and it's going to take a while to import, but it'll come back and yeah, it'll basically appear and stuff. Just, we're gonna wait for it. It's gonna take a while. Okay, now that's exported. We usually for like bugs, HRP is going to be a little bit altered, like over here. So if your HRP is not on the floor, you might want to do that right now, because for every creature, so like here in the bay, the HRP is up. Oh, that's to the base. Hold on. Yeah, but where you have to lower it down to the floor, it's going to be a little bit laggy, but like, yeah, like around, like it has to be touching the floor or for that to happen. So like kind of like this, okay, yeah, kind of like that, but it has to be exactly touching the floor. Okay, now that we're back in Blender, for this process, mine is actually above the floor, but that won't matter since I'm just teaching you guys how to like see the rig and stuff. So you're gonna press N, and then you're going to go to third tab, and you're gonna click this button, and basically you could leave this alone, but if you want to do like other stuff, whatever, if like your rig like isn't really supported by this, you choose the other options, but usually you only need this one, and you only need to import, and it's gonna look like this once it's in. If you don't like how the rig is like kind of being like seeing right here, you could change it by going to the stick figure and clicking this button. There's different bone styles that you could choose, but I use B-bone, and I just toggle these 3 off to see the creature better. You can also turn off the relationship lines by clicking here and clicking this, if it's covering the screen too much. Otherwise, yeah, you now have imported a creature, and now you could basically just like start cleaning up these bones if you did rig it with Rigify. But if you didn't rig it with Rigify, it shouldn't have all this clutter, and you should be just left with all the main bones. But if you did rig with Rigify, it might look like this, so I'm going to teach you how to clean it. So basically, you go in edit mode, you basically just post mode, because you could see what's happening. Don't hide any bones that move a main part, so it would be something like this part, but this part, you should hide that by pressing H. So you're basically going to be doing this for every single bone. Make sure like you're not selecting main bones as well, and you're basically going to do that for until your entire view is cleared. So I'm gonna come back with a cleaned rig. Okay, now I'm back with a cleaned rig. I also added a floor, which is basically just a cube. If you guys want to do that, all you have to do is just model a cube. So you could just go here into edit mode. I mean, not edit mode. You go in object mode, and then you add a cube, and then you go to edit mode to modify that cube, and you can make a floor. So basically, what I did for a floor is that it's basically on the green line, as you can see here. So that's why I wanted the HRP to be near the floor, on the floor, because that will be basically what your creature's like hitbox will be if you're using COS rigs. But if you're not using COS rigs and you're not somehow using an HRP, you can make it work with a floating creature, but I would not recommend putting a creature not on the floor. So yeah, it basically just acts as your floor. So right now mine is actually posted correctly, since I didn't want to use, I already had an unhid version of the debate rig. I'll just do that. So yeah, you can do that, and once we have this, we basically now have to post the legs. So for bugs, you would have to post the legs, but for creatures who have already have post legs that are correctly posed, you don't have to do that, and you could just go to the IK step. I'll leave like a timestamp for the IK step if you're not animating a bug. But if you're animating a bug and the rig looks like this, don't worry. You just have to adjust the legs like this. Okay, so now that you have an adjusted leg, like let's just say this is an adjusted leg, because this isn't adjusted at all. But oh wait, I forgot. But before you do that, make sure you turn this off, the inherent rotation. So it wouldn't do that. And your leg will stay in that position. If that is on, it will keep the rotation for the other bone, but that's bad since you don't want that to happen. So yeah, you're gonna have to do the inherent rotation for every single leg or feet, so it doesn't move. And now that you have that, you're probably wondering how to mirror the legs, because you're gonna need the legs to be exactly in the same position in order for animals to look neat. So to do that, you gotta go here, copy and paste these two values to the other bone, and for the last two values, you're gonna have to make it the opposite number of what it says here. So if you're copying the Y value and you're copying the Y value here, it's going to become a negative, since we're flipping it over. And this -2 in Z, we're gonna make it a positive. And as you can see, like the bones are in the same place, well, around the same place. Oh wait, hold on. Oh yeah, you're gonna also need to reset this. So now they're in the same place, and you basically need to do that for every bone up until the foot. I mean, you also need to do it for the foot as well, but yeah, for each bone right here. Yeah, do these. So you just keep repeating that until you get something like this. So once that's done, we can now do the IK section. Ooh, this one's a bit uneven. And for this, we just have to add some bones. So for each leg, you're gonna have to add one bone for each leg. I would also add IK for the head as well, but for this version, I don't really like using the IK for the head, as it's quite restrictive, and it might screw with your anims if you use IK for the head. It might give it a detached look like here or here. So yeah, we're gonna like try to avoid that, and we're going to just add bones just for the legs. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you go to pose mode. I mean edit mode. Alt Z to do the X-ray, so you can see the bones clearer. Or actually, no, you can go pose mode. And then if it does that, just like try to like unhide, and then you just try to connect this bone to the bone right before the foot bone. So if this is the foot bone, you're gonna try to connect it to the bottom part of this bone. So where are those? Okay, so this is the bone that you're using, and then we're gonna move it to the tip or the bottom of that bone. I'm just gonna do one leg so we can I could show you. Make sure it's like exactly on it, or it might be a little off. So now that you have that, you just go here to this, and then you add bone constraint, and you click inverse kinematics. And then depending on what you named your rig, you're gonna have to like select like the entire like armature, or like for like your rig. It's for our rig, it's just called this. If you use rig edit, it might be also called that, but I don't know, like I don't really use rig edit a lot, so yeah. And then you select the bone that's connected to this. So you could also rename it. It's good practice to rename it, but I usually rename it like something like S, and then or like maybe like E or like T. Like just like name it T or like a letter. That's easy to remember. Don't rename like your bones though, because that's gonna make anims a little weird. So anyway, T. So now you see it's connected to this controller bone. So depending on the limbs, like the limb length or like the amount of bones you have in one leg, you're gonna have to increase this chain length number. Starting from 1, it's going to tell you what bone it's going to affect. So since the chain length is 2, it's only going to affect this bone and this bone. And yeah, so it only moves for that. But in this case, we're just gonna set it to 3, since you only ever put it up into the shoulder. Because if you do like 4, it's going to move the torso, and that's not good. So yeah, you can do 3. I usually do 3, and then as you can see, it now acts as like some movable thing as like a leg, and unlike the other legs, this one, since it's connected to IK, it doesn't face to the floor. since the controller is preventing it from moving into the floor and sinking. So yeah, that's how I usually rig stuff. Okay, so assuming that you've rigged all the legs, I'm gonna go over here to my fully rigged version with all the controllers. You can also, I usually also set the rotation relations off for some parts like the chest or the lower body. Also, you should also put it for the head and the bottom neck. You can also like disable the rotation for the bone right before the head, so this bone, so it wouldn't look weird while rotating and it'll look focused. But if you're not happy with any of like the rotations, you can honestly just change it to whatever you like. Okay, so now that we're done with that, all we have to do now is we're gonna start animating. So for bugs are kind of hard to animate, but I usually just start with like lowering the torso for more movement and stuff, because usually like if you have like a torso that's way up here, you can't really move the bone a lot without the other bone snapping, and that's bad because snapping is going to make your animals look choppy. So we're gonna like try to move it down. Depending on your bug, you might have to look up references, but yeah, so like let's just say you're animating like a bee, like you're gonna want to search up bee references, or and I usually just start off with like putting it to the forward position on frame 1, and then you press I, then you press location, rotation, scale. So yeah, so now it's posed like this. Also, you should also do press A on a bone, just select all bones, press I again, do this. So you make a keyframe. For these bones, for the next part, you gotta do Alt on frame 30, Alt RGS. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah, but like, yeah, but usually it's Alt RGS for that. But like, if it's since you like, if it's T-pose differently, it might look weird and like not like. Set it to like the default position as like in edit mode. Default position for these bones are down here. So basically you just move them all the way back. Oh, make sure you do this for all the legs, by the way, so because we're gonna be like doing something with the movement. So like it's gonna move like this. You copy it from the first frame, and then you copy it into frame 60. Alright, so now that we have that, you can also change the frames, the amount of frames that you want. So if you want to go to frame 90, you can turn that 16 to 90, but usually for like locomotions, I just put it to 60 since it's easy to like segment. And then for frame 45, I usually move the legs up to give a lift. And yeah, so for the legs that are sliding, once going forward to backward, you're gonna want to put this, you're gonna right click, you're gonna go here, and you're gonna put this to linear, so the legs don't have like a more straight direction when it's following the keyframe. At frame 35, you should move the legs a little bit back. And for frame 55, I usually either move it forward or move it back and then up, but we'll just move it forward for this since it's a walk anim and doesn't really need that much weight. So now it looks like this. So for bugs, their legs are a little weird. So basically it follows the rotation of the bone for it. or like honestly, like it basically rotates, so it wouldn't look like this scrunched up. It would look more like this when moving. See, that looks a little bit better than just scrunching up. And I just do this for every single leg that's not posed. You can also copy all like the rotations, but like if you're confident with eyeballing, you can just do what I'm doing. And yeah, so now the legs look a little bit more better. I'll make sure to adjust the legs for the other parts. Oh, you can also press shift to select multiple bones at once. Well, you have to hold it, but yeah. And so now it looks a little bit more bug-like. So on frame 35, where it does like a little lift motion, I usually go and did like one of these to the side view, and then just like move the legs back to give it a flick. And I also do the same for frame 56, 55, whatever. You can also, like, if it's moving too fast for your liking, you can also do that. And if it doesn't look like it's turning enough, you can also move it down this way. But you might have to move it back to make it the leg not freak out. I also just like rotate like the leg like this. But it depends on what you want to do for the leg. But for I think for like for the front legs, it usually doesn't like curl like this, and like the middle leg only does that, so like it would just be like this. So you just need like, yeah. But for the back legs, make sure it's like facing back, and the front legs are like facing as far as possible, since they're only the middle legs only do that rotation. And basically just like do like the flicks. If it's not correctly, make sure your first and last frame are the same, and you'll have something like this. So assuming that your legs are correctly moving, I'm just gonna like assume, like we're just gonna pretend that these legs are fully animated for the walk. These aren't, for me, this isn't fully animated yet, but I'm gonna show you how to move the legs, or more like the leg pattern. So I usually select everything on the right side, and then move it back to frame 30. And you might think, oh well, this doesn't loop correctly. Well, you can do this. Make sure you're selecting all the bones and selecting all the keyframes. Press Shift plus E, and then click this button, and now your legs will move correctly. Also, this modifier also makes the anims more smooth, so it would actually connect. But once you've done that, we now have this to work with. So for bugs, usually their back legs counter, not counter, more like do the opposite of what the front legs do. So if the front leg is placing the foot, the back legs would also be placing a foot, but in the opposite direction. So you just need to move whatever's in frame 60 back to frame 30, and I press G to move the frames. And then for the middle, I usually put it at the middle, like usually putting this at frame 60 back to frame 45. And it'll look like this. So yeah, so assuming we're done with the legs, you can also like double check that your ends are looping properly by clicking this or putting the end frame back by 1 to see if your loop is doing what it's supposed to. So mine is doing what it's supposed to, so we could put that back. And now this is how I do the torso movement. Usually for bugs, they do not have a lot of torso movement, so I usually only like move it slightly up and down, like a little less than other creatures. But I make frames. I'm pressing that over that way. I'm making frames for each of this so we can modify it, and I move this down, copy it, go here, move this down. And if you're wondering how I turn on the wiggles, I'll get to that in a moment. I'll disable it for now, so we'll just see like what it looks like without the wiggles. And now that we have that, you're going to select your lower body and then your torso, and then you're gonna make keyframes for those as well. And I usually just like do right to left, so like a little bit here, a little bit there. And now you have like little torso rotation. I also do like rotate it down like this, and make sure it's like nearly the same by playing it. And now you'll have something like this. I also do like these, like to add some more movement. And now that we have that, you can now basically move the frames back to make it look smooth. So let's just say you're on torso, right? I usually move it back to like frame, I don't know, like just a little back, but like you can honestly adjust it to whatever you like. I also move this up a little bit, and you'll get something like this, which looks pretty good. Also, you want to try to avoid snapping, so I can see that my legs are snapping over here, so we're gonna move this back. Just ensure that it's like not disconnected like this. So if this was like disconnected like all the way over here, you move it back to like it does a pop like this, and then your leg is not fine. So let's just pretend this is your finished walk, right? Now you want to add some wiggles. I usually just add the wiggles to like the tail and like the lower body, but you can honestly add it to whatever you like. I'm just gonna show you how to turn it on. The doc in the description, it tells you how to install this plugin, but I'm just gonna assume you have that installed like everything else before starting the video. What you want to do is you're gonna disable this, you're gonna disable this, and then you're gonna turn this on. Usually your settings will not look like what I have. Usually have like 50 on these three. You're gonna make it sure they're all at 0, and honestly, like, you could play with the settings, but I usually do 0.5 like here, 1.5 here, and then like 30, 40, 50 on this. So it's gonna look like this once I turn it on. And when I turn it off, turn on. And if you want more wiggle, you can decrease the stiffness and increase the dampening, but like I wouldn't increase it too much. If it's like starts stuttering, that's when you that's like the max limit you could put. So like let's just say I put it like 2 point, like yeah, if it starts stuttering like that, make sure to put it back down. And if you want to keep like the wiggle and like the other stuff, but you just want it to like wiggle a little less, you can move this down. Or if you want more wiggle, you can put this up. But usually, yeah, just like play with the settings until you get like a wiggle that you like. And I'm gonna teach you how to bake this. So let's just say this is a complete anim. So make sure everything is cyclic. And then like, yeah, and then you press this button while you selected both the keyframes and all the bones. Click this. It's going to freeze for a bit, but that's fine. And make sure everything is the first and last frame are the same. If it's not, you can copy paste the first frame and then paste it onto the last frame, and then delete like the first frames over here. And clicking make cyclic. It won't be 100% perfect, but yeah, this is what you could do if like one of your anims doesn't wanna like do stuff. So since this is baked, this is ready to be exported back. You can also change the speed for the anim. So if it's too slow, you can put up to 75. Alright, so now that you want to do that, you press N, go back here, and then press this export animation button. So it's gonna freeze for a bit, but it'll say like something like this. I would not recommend pasting this animation data like anywhere. It's like really long. It might crash some computers if you like paste it on like Discord on a text message. So like what you want to do is that you want to open back up your rig with Roblox Studio, and you're gonna click import animation. So this is gonna come up. Okay, this is gonna come up, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna press Control V with your animation data copied. So usually do this, it's gonna freeze, but you just have to wait for a bit. And now your animation is in. You can also save the anim in Roblox. So like let's say you want to do that and want to use it in games, you just press this button. And now it's a keyframe sequence. You can now use this for whatever you like. So like this is a walk anim, and you can use this walk anim for anything you want in your game. Alright, so now we're at the bipedal section for this video. I'm going to assume that you've watched the part with the bug, with like me animating the bug, so you get like a basic understanding of what I do for animating. But this is for bipedal creatures. Bipeds are actually kind of simple, but if you're animating something like a dinosaur, it might not be, but usually they're like really simple. So like, yeah, so you just set your stuff, set the frames to 60, make a frame, and then yeah, you just do like the same thing for what we did like with the bugs, except it's going to be a little different. And then yeah, and since Gara's weight, we're gonna have to like do this, so that's like a little stomp. Alright, so we're gonna assume that this is a finished bass movement. I usually like put this outwards since Gar is kind of big, and but like usually you don't have to do that, but like if you want to like alter anything, feel free to do that. Okay, anyway, yeah, so we're gonna do this, and then for these frames, it's gonna be like the same as first frame, but for frame 35, I usually just like rotate, same as like for frame 40. I usually just do this, or you can honestly just keep like frame 40 as a rotate thing. At frame 50, I do this. I like snap it back. And I'm gonna teach you how to do flicks, but yeah. So for this, you're gonna wanna like move this down, and then you're gonna move these toes, or you're gonna move these up so it looks like this. You might need to readjust. So this is just for frame 35. For frame 40, it's going to flick all the way back. So just do that for the flicks. Might have to change some stuff, but yeah, like this is fine. And now your thing does flicks. For dinosaurs, this flick might be a little bit too aggressive, so we might need to like move the frame 40 a little bit more, or back if it's too much. Some flicks might not be even, so you're gonna have to like kind of like fix the frames as you go on. So since this is not done yet, we can do that. Frame 38 and frame 40. Yeah, something like that. I also put these legs like collected together. Once it gets all the way up, and then at frame 55, I also make this together to add like a little splat. And now we just have to move this. So usually, well, more like sometimes I don't have to move this yellow bone, but make sure, because usually like creatures do like a little like how do I do it, like a flick back into this position when they're lifting their leg, and then sometimes you're gonna have to like alter that a little bit. Yeah, this is what it should look like though. Yeah, and I usually just like try to like alter the leg. So it should look like this if you're not like moving anything, but you might need to fix some things if the leg doesn't move properly. I also like put this. I do a little bit of like a curl. And then Yeah, you just like adjust the leg if things look weird. And yeah, you have now a finished leg movement. I just like select all the bones and move them back for the leg. It doesn't look perfect, but like this is what I usually do, kind of. For heavy creatures like Gar, I also add weight by adding shake to the legs. Like, I move this up, like the first one, like just up very slightly, and at frame 3, I move it down very slightly, and then we go to frame 8, and then I move it up again. That's too much. And frame 17, frame 17, I move it down. So it's going to look like this. Like, it's faint right now, but there's a little shake. So if it's too faint for you to see, you could honestly increase the shake. And I also puts a down frame 58. And I also put this on. If it's not giving enough shake, that's fine. You could do like the same thing on this leg, so you could like see the shake. And you're basically, I also just do the shake for the torso if you want to add more weight to that.